Hi, I'm here with Natasha Curtis, founder and owner of Zeppelin Comics. Natasha and I have known each other for about 10 years, I think.
At least.
Yeah. We were both Girl Scout leaders, and Natasha then became a service unit leader for Girl Scouts, eventually working in the council.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I looked up and she was owning and operating a comic store, a brick and mortar comic store. So to the outsider, it looks like it happened quick and easy.
Sure.
Of course. But as a business owner, we know that isn't always the case.
A lot of hard work.
Yeah, definitely. So I was hoping that you could share with us just kind of what inspired you to do this, and then kind of just tell us a little bit about the process, because I imagine it wasn't easy.
It's not nothing. No.
Yeah. Exactly.
Sure. Well, my family has loved comic books and comic book culture, pretty since my husband and I were kids. I think that's kind of what bonded us when we were in high school.
Oh.
And thank goodness we both have kind of an adventurous spirit. So we have been married for 23 years.
Oh, congratulations.
And, thank you. And have had a lot of adventures. And I think owning a business was kind of always in the back of our mind, but we, like everybody else, wants to be sure of the paycheck and be sure of how to help our family survive with 2 young kids. So we kind of put that on the back burner for a while and just lived our life. I got a degree in interior design, which I dearly loved, and did that for about 10 years before going Girl Scouts.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize.
Yeah, and my husband has worked with the Air Force and the government for over 20 years as well. So in the meantime, living our life, we go to comic book stores, and my son and my daughter love comic books and comic book culture and movies, and they're extremely artistic themselves.
I think I've seen some pictures. Yes. They are.
Oh my gosh,
definitely.
They got that gene. But so we would go to conventions and seek out comic book stores, brick and mortar comic book stores, because it's one of those few things left that getting online just doesn't have the satisfaction of the experience of going to the store and holding the art in your hands and engaging
those pages.
Engaging with the culture and the community. So we would seek out stores and conventions, and we found pretty quickly when my son was about 7 or 8 that this is the life for us.
Oh, how exciting.
Yeah. So the downside to that was, oftentimes with the brick and mortar stores, there are not very many of them anymore. No. That's for sure, because this is the environment we're in. It's rough for retail, all over, not just bookstores.
Absolutely.
It's rough for retail. But I think with the comic book culture itself has been very siloed, there's a barrier of entry that makes it a little difficult for kids or for women or people of color, or, people that aren't normally depicted in comic books, the strong male figures.
Right. That's a good point.
So we felt pretty early on, it's like there's a little discomfort when we go into engage with the retail environment as women and as kids. And so when I decided to start a store, that was really my mission, was to make it a place that everybody can feel comfortable.
I love that.
Yeah, and that kids can get their first comics, adults can get their 800th comic. I can turn on a 40, 50, 60-year-old to comic books because it's for everybody.
Absolutely.
But the mainstream thought with comic book retail that it's just for boys.
Yeah, and I love
it's just for young boys, but it's not.
Right, and you have comics in there that are for everyone.
Yes,
I've been in
my
there.
mission.
I love that.
Yeah.
That is great. And the fact that you went for it, and because I think so many of us have, have these passions, but we stay conservative,
Yes.
and we don't kind of take that leap of faith, that sometimes, you need to take to kind of really live that life that speaks to you, speaks to your passion, resonates.
For sure. And like I said, it was always kind of in the back of our mind to, especially in our hometown in Benicia, because, we both grew up here, and we really want to help foster it for the next generation, and we want to be involved with the community. So, it was always in the back of our mind that we were just doing our 9-to-5s and making it work. And I don't know, it was, we like to have our discussions on long car trips is when we make life-changing decisions. Yes. And we really talked it out. It's like, I think we can do this. I think we can do this. So what does it take to do this?
Yeah.
And so we really kind of put pen to paper, and it's like, okay, what are the realities of going forward with this?
And I think that's a good point too. If you're going to go ahead and make that leap,
yes.
Like you said, pen to paper, figure out what you need to do, how to go about doing it. And I think it's important to have a really good support system.
Yes.
And I think the fact that you and your husband were there for each other, that's a good start.
Yes. No, we didn't just jump into it. We definitely did a lot of kind of market research and really did a deep dive into our demographics.
Yeah.
I think, and one of the advice I give to anybody wanting to start a business is, business plans are actually pretty important. Even when you're in a creative business and think, that's a lot of scary work.
It is.
When we had our first, when we were looking to rent a building, our first landlord asked for a business plan because we hadn't actually started our business yet. And they're like, oh, okay, so the actual mechanics of a business plan could be scary.
Absolutely. I remember when my family owned a small shop years ago, and I forgot somebody asked us for a business plan, and I thought, really? Do we need a business plan?
Exactly, but
it helps.
Important. Even if nobody else sees your business plan, making one for yourself, I think, going through the process of, okay, who am I serving? What is my mission?
Right.
What can I, conceivably make in a month? What is my overhead? Even just the nuts and bolts of it all.
Right.
And that's have to think about.
I agree. And that's a good point too about, well, first of all, the business plan it helps you kind of keep focused.
Yes.
And, stay within your guidelines. And then numbers, you were saying, what can I feasibly make within the first month? Exactly. I think that's important too, that sometimes we forget about. We're so into just starting the business that we kind of forget about the numbers, and the numbers can be so important.
Yeah. Another thing I realized pretty quickly, especially with this business, because it requires so much passion, and a lot of businesses do.
Right.
They really require you to be passionate, and I've noticed a lot of businesses that are booksellers or collection sellers, they really get emotionally invested in their product, which is wonderful, but you also have to match that with business. Yes. Because it's really important to value realistically.
I completely agree. Absolutely. That's good advice. Anything else you want to share in terms of if you're somebody who's just starting out, you want to make that leap of faith, you want to maybe just kind of do a reboot or a career change?
Well, it's definitely all about calculated risk. I've stole it from Walt Disney, but our family motto is keep moving forward. It's really helped to guide us through 23 years of, there's going to, I don't like to say failure, but there's going to be times where things just don't work. And if that is, you're not feeling satisfied, it's just not working it's not feeding you mentally and spiritually and physically, then we need to move on. And to not be afraid, that could be scary. It could be very scary.
Absolutely.
But like I said, putting that pen to paper and really, my husband and I call it making the nuclear option. What is the absolute worst that could happen?
Oh,
I know. I like to say think positive, but all right, let's what are the nuclear options if this all failed today?
Yeah.
What would happen?
That's a really great idea.
And oftentimes it's not as scary as you would think. And so it's like, well, okay, oftentimes you don't need to make those big leaps.
Right.
You can make those little incremental leaps. But writing down and being aware of those nuclear options, makes it a little bit more palatable to, okay, we can take these step by step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And doable, like those attainable goals.
Exactly.
Step by step.
Exactly. And now being in business for almost 4 years now, it hasn't been all sunshine and roses, but it's been great. And what's wonderful is building the community and really learning in the process. And there's been times, again, where we've had to mid-stride, okay, what are those nuclear options? Okay, thankfully right now we don't have to take any nuclear options.
Yeah.
We're actually doing pretty good. So,
that's right. And congratulations on
you.
4 years. That's
thank you.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that advice. I think it's really good. And for anyone out there who's thinking about starting a business, that what Natasha said is so important. And I think that's really good.
You really have to just keep growing because it's not going to stay the same. You have to incrementally make those adjustments and
that's a good point too.
Continue to look at your business and adjust when needed.
Oh, thank you. I love that. That is so important. All of that. And so talking about, adjusting and so you do online sales, is that right?
We do. We just started, we wanted to get good ground under our feet with retail sales, but we just integrated a new system that allows us to market and sell online and do mail order. So you can
that's great.
Get to us at zeppelincomics.com. No WW needed. And it's wonderful. We're part of, it's called the Comics Hub. So you can actually connect to a lot of different states and different stores, especially if you're looking for a specific thing. You can see who carries that item. And so now we're part of that collective. And
that's very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. And for anybody who doesn't know how or is questioning how to spell Zeppelin,
ZEPPELIN Comics, COMICS. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. And then your brick and mortar address is on the website?
So Zeppelin Comics, we're at 191 East H Street in downtown Benicia. And we're open 7 days a week.
Oh, that's great. That's very important. Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much for taking your time and helping, sharing your story with us. Really appreciate it.
I love it. All right.
And thank you for watching. If you liked this interview and you want to see more, please click the like button and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.